What's up, everyone? It's Daniel with VintageMagic.com, and today's video is going to be about PayPal gift. So the situation happened recently where I had a client or a person in the community contact me in regards to a transaction from overseas. The guy's from the US, and basically he's getting some cards from Germany or something, or overseas, somewhere in Europe. And basically the package itself is in limbo land. Actually, I don't even call it a package, it's just a letter. So this particular buyer bought some cards from a guy who is reputable in the community on one of the Facebook posts. So he inquired about a certain card. This guy from Germany had the card. They worked out a deal, and the guy from the US basically paid by PayPal gift. So basically it's been over a month and he hasn't received the cards, whatever. And basically we're at a point where of standstill where the buyer is literally pissed. Well, the seller didn't ship it with any tracking. So it's in one of those envelopes that you see. You can get like 10 cents or whatever at Walmart, and a stamp, probably €2, whatever the heck it is. Send it to the US. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. What's the problem there, guys? Do you see the issue involved? All right, for those of you who do not know what PayPal gift is, that's funny. It's not a gift. First off, PayPal Friends and Family, that's what it's called, basically is a way for you to PayPal money from your bank account or existing PayPal funds to other people around the world, or domestically, it doesn't matter. And basically what it does is it allows you to avoid the PayPal fees that are involved. And PayPal fees, those of you who don't know, domestically it's about 2.9% plus 30 cents for each transaction, and international is 4.4% plus 30 cents. So the fees do add up quite a bit. Now this particular case, I don't have my handy calculator out, but we're talking, $4 or $5 at most for the fees. But in this case, it's saved, and 4.5% the transaction, whatever the heck it is, it's a lot of money to save, right? So it's important to understand that PayPal Gift has its advantages for obviously getting non-fee sales. But one thing I will mention is that PayPal Gift or PayPal Friends and Family, you have to pay taxes on those every year if it indeed is a business transaction. So what that means is that if the IRS happened to audit you, which is highly unlikely, they would be able to, they'll find that they have these transactions for PayPal Gift, and they will essentially want you to pay taxes on them if they were actually business transactions. It's kind of a tax loophole, actually, in a way. People use it so they don't pay taxes on it, and they also get no fee. So, but it's up to you as the person that is getting the money, the seller who gets the money from the buyer, to report the taxes in your particular specific country. All right, let's go back to now enough of the crap about what PayPal Gift is. Let's talk about what happened in this transaction. First off, when you are doing PayPal Gift, okay, PayPal Friends and Family, you are essentially at the whim as a buyer, in the buyer's perspective, at the mercy of the seller. The mercy. What this means is basically that if the seller does not send the product, if the seller is a fraud, if the seller is not a fraud but sends you Cheetos in the mail, it doesn't freaking matter. It basically, you have absolutely no protection with PayPal or your credit card company. It is your responsibility as the buyer to only buy from reputable sellers. Now, those of you will argue and say, well, Dan, it's the responsibility of the seller to provide the product. I agree with that, but let me ask you this. Would you shop, okay, if someone was selling you some candy and the candy had mold and, you know, crap all over the candy bar, would you buy the candy bar? No, right? Obviously not. Okay, so, unless you're like the Swamp King or something. All right, so you wouldn't buy the candy bar. So you as the buyer need to do the research and buy from people that are reputable who sell great candy, right? Quality candy. You can inspect that and make your decision before buying it. Just like making the right decision on the buyer in which you buy from. Also, you need to request tracking with all of your purchases. What is tracking? Well, tracking is the digital way that you can basically get some protection. So how PayPal monitors if the transaction is legit is that online tracking is scanned by the Postal Service, FedEx, whatever, and gives you confirmation that it's been delivered. Now, if items are over $250 or more, they're required to have a signature signed by the person on the package, and that is also an additional charge. So in this case, at $90, no signature was required, just tracking. Some people like to go on the cheap, and I say on the cheap, and use those those little envelopes that you get for 10 cents at Walmart, 5 cents, whatever, and like a letter to grandma. Why the F would you send a $90 card in a white little envelope with no tracking? I mean, it just boggles my mind. And as a buyer, why in the world would you not request tracking? Just say, right? So it's kind of a two-way street. The buyer and the seller need to work together and give the best experience for each other, the best chance for the package not to fail and not be lost in limbo land. But here's the bottom line, though. This is what I thought about this quite a bit. I talked to the guy for like 30 minutes or whatever, and I'll just say this. Like, if you buy from me, vintagemagic.com, if we lose a package or there's no, well, first off, we would never ship anything without tracking. But let's say the item was lost with tracking. We at Vintage Magic would refund your money 100% after going through the claims process. That's important to understand, is that the seller is ultimately responsible for the integrity of the package. That's it. The game is over. You go to Walmart, you go to Kmart, you go to Fred Meyer, or not Fred Meyer's, whatever, any major corporation, Amazon, eBay, or not eBay, Microsoft, Apple. If you buy an iPad from Apple and you go ahead and buy that iPad and there's no tracking, or they send tracking but it's lost, or they send it to your doorstep and it was stolen from your doorstep, you actually, as the buyer, are protected by your credit card and PayPal if you pay that way, because the credit cards are really, really on the side with buyers. That's kind of how it works, is that as a seller, you have protection, but up to a point. If there's confirmation, there's no confirmation that's been delivered, it was never signed for, it was just stolen from the porch, let's say there was confirmation, but it was never signed for, and it's a valuable item, you bet your bottom dollar the buyer is fully protected. So let me say this again. The buyer in this case is always going to win in a credit card dispute. Always. So as a seller, you need to look at it as a very serious thing. You need to send the item well packaged. You have to send the package with tracking and great communication. Communicate what you've done. Take a damn picture. Send it to them on Facebook, email, whatever the hell it is. Send them the packaged product and the shipping label with it and the items before it was packaged and say, it's going out. I usually do that with Facebook transactions or offline transactions. Don't really do that with transactions on our website unless I know them personally. But I always email them the tracking. I follow up, say if they need anything else. This is the procedure that needs to happen. Quality of shipping. Let's talk about quality. If the package comes, you're the buyer, and it comes and it's like destroyed, like cut in half, or the shark monster, or, you know, some, I don't know, whatever. You know, some shit happens, right? The seller is responsible for the integrity of the package. So this is something I will say to you. As a seller, you need to always add insurance on all your items. I know it's expensive, but you need to consider that every time, or you are taking the risk. It's not the buyer, it's you. For PayPal non-gift transactions or eBay transactions, because they require insurance. So in the case of items that are damaged, destroyed, or stolen, all that stuff, and let's say there was tracking or whatever, it was delivered, but it was damaged, water damage, whatever. Basically, the seller is responsible in filing the claim, getting the money back to the buyer. That's it. eBay, PayPal, everybody will side with the buyer. See, that's, you know, it's a tough situation because I'm a buyer. You take the risk as a buyer. Well, when the buyer says, hey, I'm not wanting insurance, I'm opting out of insurance, that is a warning sign, sellers. Warning sign not to do the transaction without insurance. And this is the reason why on my eBay store, when you buy from our store, it's stores.ebay.com/vintage Magic the Gathering. Link is below also. And if you go to our eBay store or any of our website stuff, it is very important at vintagemagic.com. We always add insurance. We're fully insured, or we're always protected. And especially, I'm dealing with thousands and thousands of dollars of items. I mean, there could be a month I sell like $300,000 worth of product, right? I mean, you have to be insured and insure the packages you're sending out. Otherwise, you're completely fucked. I mean, honestly, as a seller, if I didn't do that, I would just be completely screwed. Now, here's the problem. This is where it gets very gray area. In the case of this guy, this situation, the buyer could lie and say, well, I didn't receive the package, but they could have already have it. There's no tracking, right? There's no way to prove it. The seller could say, hey, I sent this out, no tracking, but I sent this out, I have proof that the envelope, whatever. Or they could say, oh, I sent this out, but they never sent it out. It's a big lie, right? And it's PayPal gift. They don't have to refund you any kind of money. So that is why you always send with tracking, you always send with insurance as a seller, and the game is over. Everybody's happy. If anybody wants to bitch at you about high shipping costs, and I'll just go off on this part, is that's really important, is that people have told me that my shipping costs are pretty expensive. You're right, it is more expensive than other people, but I use FedEx. What's FedEx? FedEx is not the postal service. It's not those people who are throwing the packages out and doing them as frisbee things all over the place. Well, maybe I'm wrong. FedEx and UPS also have a problem. They also do that, and it's been caught on video, those guys have been fired. But in general, FedEx is a private company. They have shareholders, they care about customer service. The Postal Service is, I believe, a private company monitored by in relationship with the government. So they're union employees, it's a different setup. Now, I'm not knocking on union employees because UPS is also union, FedEx is not union. But what I will say is my experience with FedEx or UPS, they do a better job than the Postal Service. Thus, the shipping prices are higher. You know, when you're shipping international, I almost always ship FedEx now because their tracking is amazing. Also, you also have it's kind of like they have these private employees who, you know, really take the time for customer service. They can have tracking ability all the time. They have a great customer service line. When you go to the Postal Service, there's no customer service person really you can talk to. It's completely in the dark. Honestly, it's a horrible experience. So I will leave this in all, you know, look, I will end this video like this. I will tell you guys that it's really important in this particular case to learn from it. The lesson learned, I told this guy, I said, lesson learned is obviously never do business with anybody that does not ship with tracking. But more importantly, is that you only do business with people that you know and trust. I'm not saying the guy from Germany is not trustworthy, because I know the guy through Facebook groups. He's a really nice guy. But if you haven't done enough business, or it's not a bigger company, or someone that has, you know, a reputation out there for being well known at what they do, it's really hard to trust. And this is where I'll leave it, is that one bad experience that occurs, you will change your perception forever. And case in point, this is the kicker. Years ago, this guy bought an Alpha Lotus 9, PSA 9, and a Shivan Dragon PSA 9. Or actually, I bought it from the guy. He sent me a package, and this was on eBay. He sent me a package that just had the Alpha Shivan Dragon. I disputed it through my credit card, all that jazz, and they sided with me as the buyer. They had tracking and a signature. Wow. Why did they side with me? Because my reputation through all the years of history shows that I'm a reputable buyer. I don't open claims and try to steal people's money, because that is another problem. People could do that. The seller actually had very low feedback, and actually they discovered that the guy had other transactions that are very similar. So think about that one. Put your comments below. I want to hear about your stories and thoughts on this issue. Very important issue. Very important issue. Have a good week, guys. Talk soon.